When I woke up married to my crush. Chapter 1. The night of graduation, I downed half a bottle of whiskey just to work up the courage to confess to Asher Sterling, my longtime crush. The confession never happened. I blacked out completely. When I woke up, a toddler was calling me mommy. Asher was beside me, gazing at me with adoration. "Hey, you're awake." I was completely stunned. "What are you spacing out for? Don't you have a book signing today? You need to get ready." The man leaned closer, his warm breath fanning across my face. I jolted and instinctively slapped him. He clutched his left cheek, staring at me in disbelief. I swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. You were just too close. My name is Amelia Clark. I was an ordinary high school student at Riverside Academy. I had just finished my SATs and was planning to confess to Asher Sterling, my ultimate crush. Yes, the same man I'd just slapped. But now he was saying he was my husband. I was completely floored. I couldn't understand it. Yesterday, I was an 18-year-old girl secretly planning to confess to my crush, and now I'd apparently married Asher and had a child with him. What in the world? "Amelia, what's wrong?" Asher didn't seem angry about the slap. Instead, he looked worried. His hand reached for mine, and I noticed something odd, a small scar on his knuckle that hadn't been there before. Or had it? The word "hey" instead of my name made my stomach flip. "I'm not your." I caught myself. "We need to talk." "About what?" He frowned, and for a split second, something flickered in his eyes. "Amusement? No, that couldn't be right. Are you guys playing some kind of game?" Seeing his confused expression, I rephrased. "I mean, is this some kind of prank? Game? What game? You're acting strange today. Didn't you sleep well last night?" His beautiful eyes looked at me with what seemed like genuine concern. That expression didn't look like acting at all. I scrambled out of bed, putting distance between us. "I need to use the bathroom." My head was spinning. I needed to splash some cold water on my face and think. I rushed to the bathroom and locked the door. Just as I was about to wash my face, I looked up and froze. I had changed too. The woman in the mirror had lost all her baby fat. She had a perfect oval face, almond-shaped eyes with full under-eye areas that made her look sophisticated and beautiful. This person was me, but a much more mature version of me. I touched my face, watching the reflection mirror my movements. This was real. This was happening. A knock sounded at the door. Asher's voice came through. "Amelia, are you okay?" I opened the bathroom door in a daze, looked up at the wall clock, and froze again. I quickly asked, "What year is it?" 2022. After answering, Asher tilted his head slightly, studying me. "Are you sure you're all right?" "All right? How could I be all right?" I'd gone to sleep in 2012 and woken up in 2022, which meant I was now 28 years old, with a husband named Asher Sterling and a baby. I needed a moment to process this. Chapter 2. Honestly, I wouldn't have dared dream this big. The campus heartthrob of Riverside Academy, the teacher's favorite, every girl's dream guy had somehow become my husband. What could have possibly happened after graduation to lead to Asher and me getting married? A ridiculous thought occurred to me. Had I forced myself on Asher after getting drunk? Had he felt obligated to marry me out of some misplaced sense of responsibility? The thought made me feel sick. I swallowed hard, looking at him with genuine remorse. "I'm so sorry, Asher. I had no idea I was capable of something so reckless." "Amelia, what's wrong? Why do you look like you're about to cry?" Asher walked over, his brow furrowed. "Are you feeling sick?" "I'm mourning for what I might have done to you." "I'm sorry," I blurted out. Asher looked bewildered. "Why are you suddenly apologizing?" "Being with me must be." I trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Asher fell silent. Instead of responding, he turned and headed to the bedroom. I stood there, my heart sinking. So my suspicions were right. He was going to end this. Now that I'd acknowledged it, he was going to leave. I suddenly felt devastated. I'd pined after Asher for so long, and just when the future me had finally won him over, my big mouth was going to ruin everything. I should have just kept quiet. Since something this bizarre had already happened, I could have just gone along with it. Soon, Asher emerged from the bedroom holding a leather-bound document. Divorce papers. It had to be. My heart sank. This must have been premeditated. I didn't know why Asher had married me, but he must have been unhappy all along, which was why he had the papers ready. It hurt, but I didn't want to trap him in a marriage he never wanted. With tears in my eyes, I shakily took the document and opened it with trembling hands. But what I saw made no sense. The pages were filled with star charts, complex equations, and technical diagrams I couldn't begin to understand. At the top, embossed in silver, Project Artemis, classified research documentation. What is this? I asked weakly, not wanting to expose my ignorance. Asher naturally pulled me to sit on the couch, his movements gentle and familiar. I stared at his hand. Long, slender fingers with defined knuckles, pale and elegant. And that scar I'd noticed earlier, shaped like a crescent moon. I'd watched these hands shoot basketballs, pop open soda cans with one hand, and write elegantly on blackboards with chalk. Now these hands were holding mine, like it was the most natural thing in the world. I wanted to show you, Asher started to speak when the doorbell suddenly rang, interrupting him. He smiled at me apologetically. Let me get the door first. Inexplicably, I felt relieved. Although I just mentally prepared myself for rejection, if he actually asked for a divorce, I would cry. But what happened next made me want to cry even more, because Asher's parents had arrived. Chapter 3. Facing the smiling elders, I had no idea what to do with my hands and feet. I tried my best to overcome my social anxiety and forced a smile as I greeted them. Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, hello. As soon as I spoke, both their expressions changed dramatically. Did this boy do something to upset you? Asher's father actually tried to kick Asher right in front of me. I stood there speechless. What was happening? Before I could react, Mrs. Sterling had already taken my hand and sat beside me on the couch, her voice warm but concerned. Amelia dear, what married couple doesn't argue? Look at me and your father-in-law when we fight. I threatened to make him sleep on the couch for a week. Men, when they mess up, you set them straight. After speaking, Mrs. Sterling shot a pointed look at her husband. The previously imposing Mr. Sterling now looked as meek as a scolded puppy. My jaw dropped. You, get over here and apologize to your wife, Mrs. Sterling commanded Asher. Asher looked equally confused. He walked over to me, his eyes showing both concern and hurt. Amelia, what's really going on? Are you hiding something from me? There was something in his voice, not accusation, but genuine worry, and underneath that, a note of fear. Actually, what could Amelia possibly be hiding from you? You must have done something to upset her, Mrs. Sterling insisted, patting my hand protectively. I gave Asher an apologetic look. Sorry, I had no idea your parents were this protective. But seeing him get scolded made my heart ache, so I forced myself to speak up. Mom, Dad, I'm fine. Asher didn't do anything wrong. He's been very good to me. More than good, if the way he looked at me was any indication. Mrs. Sterling looked relieved, her stern expression melting into a warm smile. Then she proceeded to chat with me for what felt like hours, mostly about having a second child. I was so embarrassed I wanted to disappear into the couch cushions. Finally, she handed me a sleek black card with a smile. Amelia dear, there's $100,000 here. It's a little something from us. Think about baby number 2, will you? Your father-in-law and I have plenty of free time. We can watch the little one and enjoy some grandparent time. $100,000. Casual, like it was pocket change. I stared at the card, my hands trembling slightly. Thanks, I felt thoroughly humbled. Then, in the blink of an eye, they'd whisked away the child Mochi, I reminded myself, and vanished, leaving just Asher and me staring at each other in the suddenly quiet house. I swallowed nervously. I held out the card to him. You should take this. The card felt too heavy for someone like me, an ordinary high school student whose biggest financial decision had been whether to buy the cafeteria lunch or bring food from home. Now Asher's mother was casually handing me enough money to pay for 4 years of college. What was happening to my life? I had a husband I'd crushed on since high school, and his parents were wonderful people who not only helped with childcare but gave me small fortunes. This was beyond even my wildest dreams. Why would I take it? Asher affectionately brushed a strand of hair behind my ear and, catching me completely off guard, kissed the corner of my mouth. Mom gave it to you. I was electrified, literally shocked into stillness. Before, I'd only dared admire him from afar. If it hadn't been for graduation night, I never would have had the courage, even with my friends egging me on and half a bottle of whiskey burning through my veins, to confess. He was the light, and I was just insignificant dust floating in his orbit. But Wasn't he supposed to be unhappy? Could people in troubled marriages still kiss and be affectionate like this? This didn't make sense. "Let's go," he said, his hand finding mine again. "Where?" Chapter 4. "You have a book signing today. Did you forget?" Asher playfully tapped my nose, and I noticed he was smiling, really smiling, the kind that reached his eyes. A book signing? Had I become a celebrity? After getting in the car, a sleek silver sedan that looked expensive, I discovered I wasn't a celebrity at all. I was a best-selling romance novelist. My first published book was called You Are My Light, based on Asher himself. The book was so filled with genuine emotion that readers found it incredibly immersive. It became unexpectedly popular, launching my career. Later, the book was adapted into a streaming series, earning me what my agent cheerfully called "fuck you money." After that, my writing career just kept taking off. So I was actually wealthy now? I glanced at Asher, who was driving with one hand on the wheel, completely relaxed. Could it be because of him? Had loving him unlocked some part of me I never knew existed? I'd had a crush on Asher for years, but he was like the sun someone as ordinary as me had no right to approach him. I could only admire him from a distance, squinting against the brightness. But now he was my husband. Just as joy began to bubble up, my mood plummeted again. Something was wrong here, something I was missing. Asher. I called his name tentatively. We just stopped at a red light. He glanced at me, his brow furrowing slightly. "You usually call me something else." I was speechless. I couldn't even imagine what pet name future me used. "Are you nervous?" He leaned over and gently stroked my hair, and I caught a faint scent cedar and something clean, like rain. "You've done plenty of these events. This is nothing. Don't worry." "Okay." His presence was intoxicating, his voice so gentle, his face so handsome I was completely dazed, all resistance melting away. The book signing had an unexpectedly huge turnout. Hundreds of people clutched my books, excitedly calling my name. I swallowed nervously, my hands trembling. Oh God, I'd overestimated myself. I'd mentally prepared in the car, and my mom always said I adapted well to new situations, but seeing this massive crowd made my legs weak. A hand grasped mine. I jumped, then looked up to see Asher smiling at me with such warmth it made my chest ache. "Let's go." A woman in business attire approached, patting my shoulder familiarly. "Darling, you're finally here. We've been waiting for you." She nodded politely to Asher. "Thanks for delivering our star author safely." Asher smiled. "Amelia's my wife. It's my pleasure. I have a meeting, but I'll pick her up when I'm done. Please take good care of her." He turned to me, and for just a moment, his expression grew serious. "You've got this. I believe in you. Not good luck. Not you'll be fine. I believe in you." "Okay," I nodded, still unable to process how casually he claimed me as his wife. He used to not even know my name. I was sure of it. After Asher left, the woman, my agent, apparently winked at me. "Seriously, Amelia Clark, you must have saved the galaxy in a past life to marry such a perfect man." I wanted to cry. I wanted to know too. I got drunk, blacked out, and woke up not only with an enviable husband and family, but as a best-selling author. "Mom, I made it." When the signing finally ended 3 hours later, I was exhausted. My hand ached from signing my name hundreds of times. Why didn't anyone warn me success was this physically demanding? My agent went to handle follow-up matters while I sat in the waiting area, reading one of my own books, You Are My Light, while waiting for Asher. She'd told me I wrote this book during my junior year of college, published it senior year, and sold the streaming rights right after graduation. The male lead was completely based on Asher Sterling. How did I know? Because the male lead attended the same school, same class, and even had the same student number as Asher. The descriptions were so specific, so detailed, it was almost embarrassing. Talk about mortifying. Not only had I fantasized about him, I'd let the whole world know about it. Wait! That whole world included Asher. God, please strike me down with lightning. "Amelia," a gentle voice called out. Chapter 5. The sudden voice startled me so badly I nearly fell over, chair and all. Fortunately, Asher caught me quickly, one hand steadying the chair, the other catching my elbow. "Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you." "You think?" On the drive home, I wanted to ask him questions several times but couldn't work up the courage. When we pulled up to the house, I finally got to see the full picture. We lived in a beautiful neighborhood, with tree-lined streets and elegant townhouses. Our home was a charming brick building with window boxes full of flowers. Where is this? Home. Asher's voice was soft. Our home. I swallowed hard. A house. An actual house that we owned. I pointed at myself. Ours? Seeing my confused expression, Asher found it amusing and nodded. Yes, though I have to say, I love it when you look at me like that, like you're seeing everything for the first time. There was something in his tone, something I couldn't quite place. I wanted to ask what he did for a living. After all, he'd been an exceptional student in high school. Teachers always said he was Ivy League material. 10 years later, he must be incredibly successful. I wouldn't be surprised if he'd become a professor or researcher. Just as I was about to ask, Asher's phone rang. He didn't step away to take it, but the conversation was full of technical jargon I couldn't follow. Words like trajectory calculations and propulsion systems and lunar orbit. After hanging up, he leaned over and kissed the corner of my mouth without warning, as natural as breathing. Something came up at the research facility. I need to go in. I'll be back tonight. Wait for me at home, okay? My brain short-circuited. I nodded mechanically. Okay. Asher probably thought I was just tired. He unbuckled my seatbelt, kissed my forehead, and drove off. I stumbled to the front door in a daze, and my brain finally rebooted. Wait, I didn't know the door code. Eventually, I had to call Asher. He didn't seem suspicious, just laughed warmly and told me the code was my birthday. My birthday. Once inside, I turned into a detective, searching for clues everywhere. The house was beautiful, decorated in a warm, cozy style. The curtains were sheer white, paired with deep blue drapes, colors I'd always loved. When the breeze blew, they rippled like ocean waves. Wait, a thought struck me. I quickly pulled out my copy of You Are My Light. I flipped through based on memory and found the passage describing the dream house I'd imagined for my protagonist. White sheers and blue drapes, patchwork rugs, vintage lamps with amber glass. Every detail of this house, from the largest features to the smallest objects, matched exactly what I'd described in my book. Had Asher recreated this house based on my novel? The thought made my heart race. That was impossibly romantic, impossibly thoughtful, impossibly deliberate. Suppressing my chaotic emotions, I went to the bedroom. The bedroom was spacious, decorated in soft grays and whites. On the nightstand sat a wedding photo of Asher and me. The photo was taken at the beach at sunset. In it, my smile was radiant and sweet, while Asher gazed at me with such adoration it made my breath catch. We looked happy. We looked in love. The bedroom didn't reveal anything I needed to know, so I moved to the study. Entering the study felt like walking into a miniature library. The design was beautiful, an entire wall of built-in bookshelves, one section dedicated entirely to my published works. Another shelf displayed models of spacecraft and planets. I recognized the Mars rover, the International Space Station, something that looked like a lunar lander. Many of the books were technical manuals and aerospace textbooks. A few novels were scattered among them, all science fiction classics. I had my confirmation. 10 years from now, or rather, the current Asher worked in aerospace. My heart swelled. He'd followed his dream. On the desk sat multiple monitors displaying what looked like complex simulations. I didn't dare touch anything in case I disrupted important work. Wait, where was my computer? As a writer, wouldn't I need one? But when I'd woken up this morning, I hadn't seen any computer equipment in the bedroom. Just then, my agent called. Hey honey, bad news. Remember that coffee incident yesterday? Your laptop is completely fried. The motherboard is toast. Fortunately, all your manuscripts were backed up with me, so you didn't lose any work. But you mentioned you had some personal files stored locally. Those might be gone. I wanted to cry. My last potential source of information had just vanished. Chapter 6. Maybe because I'd gotten up so early and signed books all morning, and my brain had processed too much impossible information, I fell asleep right there in the study, curled up in the reading chair. When I woke up, I was in bed, covered with a soft blanket. I groggily got up, still half dreaming. Rubbing my eyes, I padded barefoot to the kitchen and called out to the figure there, "Mom, I'm hungry." The figure turned around. Still half asleep, Asher, wearing an apron over his work clothes, walked over and playfully tapped my nose. "I'm your husband, remember?" I gradually came to my senses. This wasn't a dream. I'd slept and was still here, still in this impossible future. Come eat. He took my hand and led me to sit at the kitchen table. Looking at the spread of food, all my favorites, I realized with a start my stomach started rumbling. I dug in, and Asher kept telling me to slow down while serving me more. I was puzzled. Hadn't he noticed something was seriously wrong with me? Apparently not. Or if he had, he was choosing not to mention it. After dinner, feeling guilty about doing nothing, I offered to wash the dishes. He pulled me to the couch and brought me a plate of cut fruit instead. Don't move. I'll handle it. My agent was right. I must have saved the galaxy in a past life to marry Asher Sterling. He was perfect. Too perfect. Too bad my happiness was short-lived. Because Asher cooked, cleaned the kitchen, and fed me strawberries all with an agenda. That agenda was to seduce me. In the bedroom, I clutched a pillow defensively, backing away. Don't come closer. What do you think you're doing? Asher froze, genuine confusion crossing his face. Amelia, what's wrong? I realized I was overreacting, afraid he'd catch on that I wasn't really his wife, or at least, not the version of me he knew. I tried to look calm and said weakly, I'm not feeling well today. What's wrong? He looked genuinely concerned, moving closer. I coughed lightly. My period started. Asher stared at me without speaking. Oh no. Had he caught my lie? Sure enough, the next second, Asher touched my face gently, his thumb brushing my cheek. Amelia, I know your cycle better than you do. That's not it. I was speechless. Of course he did. Of course. I realized I couldn't keep hiding this. Sooner or later, he'd figure out something was wrong. Actually, I know you're worried about having another baby. His voice was soft, understanding. When you were pregnant with Mochi, I promised I'd never pressure you about that again. You were so sick, so scared. My parents mean well, but we'll handle them together. Don't feel pressured, okay? Oh, our baby was named Mochi, like the dessert. Wait, that wasn't the point. I was stunned. The explanation I'd been about to give died in my throat. I didn't know why, but I felt a warmth spreading through my chest. Someone else might just be saying what I wanted to hear, but Asher meant it. You could tell from his eyes don't lie. At least, his didn't seem to. I licked my lips. Thank you. Why are you thanking me? We're married. But then his expression shifted, became more playful. Though if you really want to thank me, there's another way. I won't spell out what that other way was. I suggested nervously. How about we just talk instead? He raised an eyebrow, clearly amused. About what? I said earnestly, about you. Your work, your dreams. Something shifted in his expression, surprise maybe, or something deeper. You really want to know? Yes. And so he talked. He told me about the stars and space, about humanity's future beyond Earth, about his work on next-generation propulsion systems, about missions to Mars and beyond. His eyes lit up when he spoke about the cosmos, about the possibility of touching the infinite. I didn't remember when I fell asleep, but when I woke up, I truly felt I understood him better. It all felt like a dream, yet so real. He truly loved his work. He loved it the way I apparently loved writing with his whole heart. Since I didn't have work obligations, I was alone at home the next day. My agent had told me I was currently on break and didn't need to submit new manuscripts, but she hoped I'd use this time to brainstorm new ideas. With nothing better to do, I went back to the study. Yesterday, I'd skimmed through all my published books. Apart from the first one, You Are My Light, which was clearly based on Asher, I hadn't found any useful information about how we'd gotten together. My computer files were destroyed. I didn't dare ask Asher directly. Wait, what about my best friend? I grabbed my phone and found her contact. Taking a deep breath, I called Harper. She answered quickly. Hey loser, what's up? I wanted to cry. That familiar voice, that familiar nickname, it was really her. My voice caught slightly. Harper, I miss you. Oh please, we just had lunch 3 days ago, and you spent half the time texting Asher. You have no loyalty to your friends anymore. I was speechless. I asked weakly, Harper, I want to ask you something. The night of graduation when I got drunk, what exactly did I do? Are you serious right now? We've talked about this a million times. It's like your favorite story. I really didn't know. Chapter 7. Harper thought I was messing with her. Dude, I told you to confess, but what you actually did was way more dramatic. You're lucky it worked out. We chatted about random things after that. Afraid of giving myself away, I ended the call. So, I couldn't get any useful information from Harper either. While feeling dejected, I noticed a leather journal on one of the study's shelves, partially hidden behind a stack of aerospace manuals. Who even kept a handwritten journal these days? Could it be Asher's? Maybe I could just take a peek. Even though snooping was shameful, I couldn't resist my curiosity. I pulled it out. The journal had a small lock, but it opened easily in my hands, almost like it had never been locked at all. The 10th of June 2012. Sunny. My heart stopped. The day after our SATs. The SATs are finally over. I feel relieved, like a weight has been lifted, but new worries have emerged. My family wants me to major in finance and take over the business, but my dream is space exploration. The stars, the infinite cosmos, that's where I want to be. Just when I was about to give in to reality and my father's expectations, I met Amelia Clark at the graduation party. She seemed drunk, walking unsteadily, blocking my path like she'd planted herself there on purpose. I knew who she was, a slightly chaotic, somewhat scatterbrained girl with average grades but incredible warmth and adaptability. What impressed me most was her performance as Lady Macbeth in the school play. She completely transformed on stage. She blocked my path. Her cheeks flushed, whether from alcohol or nerves, I couldn't tell. She looked up at me and said, "Asher Sterling, I like you." Honestly, I'd heard similar confessions before. Riverside Academy had its share of admirers. But I'd never heard one like this. Because right after saying it, she threw up on my shoes. Did her own confession make her sick? I stood there, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Later, I bought her water from a vending machine. After drinking it, she plopped down on the grass and patted the spot next to her. "Sit down, let's chat." I found her very forward, but I didn't mind. There was something refreshing about her honesty. We talked about everything and nothing. She was drunk, so half of it didn't make much sense. But I didn't care. What deep conversation could I have with someone who just vomited on my sneakers? Her eyes sparkled even in the dim light when she asked me, "What major do you want to study?" I told her the truth. I don't know, finance or aerospace. She didn't hesitate. Aerospace is way cooler. Just like that. No analysis, no weighing pros and cons. Just certainty. And somehow, that certainty gave me my answer. I turned to the second page, my hands trembling slightly. The 28th of September 2013. Sunny. The long weekend is coming up. My family is pushing me to buy tickets home. I was about to book them when Amelia called, asking if I wanted to travel back together. I should mention Amelia and I don't go to the same college, but we're in the same city. Our schools are less than a mile apart. She visits my campus constantly. Sometimes she brings me snacks from her favorite places. Sometimes she comes to borrow books. I have no idea why a pre-law student needs to borrow aerospace textbooks, but I lend them to her anyway. Some things go unspoken. I'd set a goal for myself. Focus on studying for 4 years of college. Put everything else aside, especially dating. Too distracting, too complicated. But I'm discovering that my supposedly ironclad willpower is being dismantled bit by Amelia Clark. She's persistent without being pushy, present without being invasive. She's slowly becoming the best part of my days. My eyes were burning. I blinked rapidly and kept reading. The 6th of March 2014. Rainy. Today is my birthday. But I don't want to celebrate. My experiment has failed for the 3rd time. I'm starting to question everything. My choice to pursue aerospace, my abilities, my entire future. The numbers don't work. The theory is sound, but the execution keeps failing. I told my roommate I wasn't seeing anyone today. Then Amelia showed up at the lab. She had a strawberry cake, my favorite, though I don't remember ever telling her that. I was irritated. I wanted to be alone with my failure. I told her I was busy and couldn't see her. What I didn't know was that she'd been waiting outside the lab for hours. In the rain. The handwriting here was shakier, like he'd been emotional while writing. The 7th of March 2014. Sunny. I learned from my roommate that Amelia waited outside the lab all day yesterday, in the rain, with a cake. For some reason, imagining her waiting there patient, hopeful, eventually disappointed, made my chest feel tight, like something was squeezing my heart. I called her immediately, expecting her to be angry, expecting her to tell me off. But she answered cheerfully and said, If you want me to forgive you, you have to buy me hot pot. I agreed without hesitation. At the restaurant, when the server brought out the sauce tray, she frowned and said, "No peanut sauce, he's allergic. Can we get sesame sauce instead?" I was stunned. When did she learn about my peanut allergy? I'm careful about it, but I don't advertise it. But her smile was so warm, so genuine, it completely opened my heart. Maybe I've been fighting the inevitable. The 8th of July 2014, rainy. A massive storm threw the whole city into chaos. The worst in 50 years, according to the news. I heard Amelia's school was badly hit. A century-old tree fell, crushing part of a building. The storm knocked out the cell network, and I couldn't reach her. The storm showed no signs of stopping. My friends told me I was crazy to go out in it. But I couldn't just sit there, not knowing if she was safe. I went to her campus. Guess what I saw? She wasn't hiding in her dorm like any sensible person would be. She was wearing a yellow raincoat, helping other students clear debris and check on people. I walked toward her, rain pouring down. When she saw me, her face lit up. "You came," she said, like she'd known I would. In that moment, I understood my own heart. I was in love with Amelia Clark. Maybe I had been for a while. I kept reading, entry after entry, watching our relationship unfold through Asher's eyes. His doubts, his realizations, his growing certainty. The 15th of June 2016, I asked her to marry me today, on the roof of her apartment building, under the stars. She said yes before I even finished the question. Then she laughed and cried, and told me she'd been waiting for me to ask since our first date. I'm the luckiest man alive. By the time I finished reading the entire journal, tears were streaming down my face. So many things had happened between Asher and me that I never knew about, that the 18-year-old me had made happen through sheer determination and hope. That evening, when Asher came home, I hugged him for the first time on my own initiative. I pressed my face against his chest and said softly, "Asher Sterling, I like you." This confession was 10 years late for me, but perfectly timed for who I was in this moment. Asher held me tightly, his chin resting on top of my head. "I know," he whispered. "I've always known." The next morning, I woke up to familiar ceiling, my teenage bedroom ceiling. From outside came my mother's booming voice. "Amelia Clark, get up, the sun's already high in the sky." Chapter 8. I sat up, looking at my familiar desk and the poster of the solar system on my wall, unable to process what was happening. I was back. I pinched my cheek hard. It hurt, so this was real. I really was back. But what about everything I'd experienced? The house, the book signing, the journal? Was it just a dream, or had it actually happened? Would my future self really marry Asher Sterling? The thought filled me with equal parts hope and terror. After eating breakfast in a daze, I asked my mom, "What's today's date?" Mom gave me an exasperated look. "June 11th, the day after your SATs ended. Don't you have your graduation party tonight?" Mom pulled some bills from her wallet and handed them to me. "Here, take this. Have fun, but be safe." "Thanks, Mom." Today was the graduation party, which meant tonight I was supposed to confess to Asher. Sure enough, Harper called within the hour. "Dude, are you ready? I got you some liquid courage for tonight." "Let me guess, alcohol." "How did you know?" Harper sounded surprised. "Don't tell me you chickened out already and bought your own." I gripped my phone, my hand shaking. Everything was happening exactly as the journal had described, which meant I could make it real. I could make that future happen. Somehow, I started feeling both nervous and determined. At 6 that evening, everyone gathered at someone's house for the party. After dinner, Harper pulled me aside and slipped me a bottle of whiskey. "Go get him. Make tonight count." The same bottle. The same brand I'd woken up next to in that other timeline. I nodded, taking the bottle. If Asher was destined to be my husband, why shouldn't I be bold? I'd time-traveled to the future and read Asher's journal. It was like having insider information. The universe was clearly on my side. I couldn't let the universe down. I took several shots for courage. When Asher stepped outside for air, I followed him. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I blocked his path, and he stopped, looking at me with those clear, intelligent eyes. "Asher Sterling," I said, my voice only shaking a little, "I like you." Then my stomach betrayed me, and I threw up. I wanted to die of embarrassment. It was exactly like the journal described. I felt humiliated, but I thought about how, if I gave up now, That beautiful future would never happen. So embarrassing or not, I couldn't quit. I wiped my mouth, trying to salvage some dignity, and plopped down on the grass like nothing had happened. I patted the ground beside me. Sit down. Let's chat. Asher looked at me for a long moment. Then, to my surprise, he smiled and sat down. We talked about many things that night. About high school, about the future, about nothing and everything. Eventually, I asked him, "What major do you want to study?" "Don't him CO." He looked at me, the evening breeze ruffling his hair, the streetlights caught in his eyes. "Finance or aerospace? I haven't decided." I thought of the future Asher, a passionate aerospace scientist who loved his work. I thought of his eyes lighting up when he talked about the stars. So I smiled. I think aerospace is way cooler. He paused, studying me. Then he smiled with what looked like relief. "You're right. Aerospace is cooler." I didn't remember falling asleep, but when I woke up, I was at home in my bed. Mom said, "Your classmate Asher Sterling brought you home. You were completely out of it. I hope you didn't embarrass yourself too badly." I grinned despite my pounding headache. "Mom, I want to major in pre-law at S-City University." Mom looked surprised. "Why S-City? That's so far away." "Because," I tilted my head with a smile, "there's something I want there." "Someone, actually." Asher applied to S-City Aerospace University. My university was less than a mile away. Perfect. In college, I found every excuse to spend time with Asher. I brought him snacks, borrowed books I didn't need, showed up at his campus constantly. I was shameless and I didn't care. According to the journal, this was how I'd gradually worked my way into his heart. So I followed the script, but I also tried to be genuine to really see him, really support him. Before I knew it, 2014 arrived. His birthday was coming up. I bought a strawberry cake, remembering that detail from the journal. When I showed up at his campus, his friend told me, "Asher's experiment failed. He's really frustrated. Maybe come back another time?" I stood there holding the cake. The journal had said I waited all day. So I waited. Hours passed. The sun set. It started to rain. My heart felt like it was being fried in oil. I wanted to go in and see him, but was afraid he'd be angry. Every minute felt like an eternity. In the end, he never came out of the lab. Disappointed, I went home with the soggy cake. My roommate saw me return bedraggled and upset. "Amelia, what happened?" I wanted to say that this was expected, that I knew it would happen. But it still hurt. I wouldn't give up, though. Sure enough, the next day Asher called. He sounded terrible, guilty, and upset. "Amelia, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were waiting. I was so caught up in my failure that I please let me make it up to you. Dinner? Anywhere you want." I said I wanted hot pot, just like in the journal. When the server brought peanut sauce, I frowned. "No peanut sauce, he's allergic. Can we get sesame sauce?" Asher's eyes widened. "How did you know that?" I broke into a cold sweat. "Because I read your future journal, obviously. But I just laughed it off. Lucky guess? Anyway, let's eat." The massive storm hit S-City in July, exactly as the journal had predicted. The century-old tree fell. The network went down. I couldn't reach Asher. When the storm calmed slightly, I grabbed my yellow raincoat, the brightest one I could find, and went out to help other students. I knew he would come. And he did. I looked up and saw him walking toward me through the rain, and my heart swelled with so much emotion I could barely breathe. "You came," I said. "Of course I came," he replied, pulling me into his arms. 10 years later, Asher and I got married on a beach at sunset, just like in the photo I'd seen. We had a beautiful baby girl. Asher asked me, "What should we name her?" I smiled, thinking of that impossible journey. "Let's call her Mochi." On our 5th anniversary, I decided to tell Asher the truth. We were sitting in our study, the one he'd designed based on my novel, though I'd never told him I noticed. "I want to tell you something incredible," I began. "When I was 18, the night after I confessed to you, I woke up in the future. I was 28, married to you, with a child. I found your journal in the study, and it told me everything: how we met, how we fell in love, how you proposed. When I came back to the past, I followed the journal like a roadmap. I made it all come true. I held my breath and watched him. He was quiet for a long time. Then he smiled a knowing, gentle smile that made my heart skip. "Amelia, how do you know I didn't write that journal specifically for you to find?" A lightning bolt struck my mind. I suddenly remembered the journal had been brand new. The lock had opened too easily. The entries had been too detailed, too perfect. "What do you mean?" I whispered. Asher took my hand. Maybe some things are meant to be. Maybe the universe has a sense of humor. Or maybe, he pulled me close. Maybe I believed in us enough to make sure it happened, no matter what. He kissed my forehead. Time travel, destiny, journals from the future. Does it really matter how we got here? I thought about it. About the impossible journey, the borrowed future, the leap of faith. "No," I said finally, smiling through tears. "I guess it doesn't. What mattered was that we were here, together. And that was enough." The end.